Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about Dead by Daylight and the kind of like overwhelming community sentiment towards the game, and I'm going to try to like talk about whether or not I think you guys should be purchasing the game in its current state right now. And I will be giving my opinions on the next chapter, which is the Ring chapter, which comes with Ringu the new killer, and it comes with a new survivor as well. I can't remember his name, but I have watched a lot of videos recently about the next killer and survivor on the PTB, and I think I can honestly give my own personal opinion on them as well. But yeah, I'm gonna just kind of try to talk about whether or not I think you should purchase the game in its current state and kind of give you the community's general consensus on the state of the game right now. But before we get into today's video, I just want to say that if you guys would like to help out the channel a lot, go down below, hit that subscribe button. It's free. You can always unsub later if you don't enjoy the content I make on this channel. I do gaming and Discord related content every Monday and Friday, and I'm trying to hit 1,000 subs by summer of this year. So if you guys would like to, help me towards that goal, it would mean a lot. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the video. Okay, the first thing I want to just go ahead and get out of the way is, why do I think the current player numbers are dropping, especially at the rate that they are? If you guys don't know, Dead by Daylight's player numbers have been dropping pretty consistently about every month. They've been dropping somewhere close to a couple thousand players a month. We went from a peak player count of our maximum peak player count ever during the Resident Evil chapter of 100k to now roughly averaging maybe 40k, 50k of a peak player count, which isn't bad. It's just a lot less than what it was before, and we are still steadily dropping. So I kind of wanted to talk about why I think Dead by Daylight's losing a lot of the new players that it earned during the Resident Evil chapter, and also just try to give a good explanation for it, which honestly I truly do believe that it is because of something that Dead by Daylight recently added called skill-based matchmaking. If you guys don't know what skill-based matchmaking is, skill-based matchmaking basically tries to put survivors with killers of their skill ranking and killers with survivors of their skill ranking. Now you might be wondering, that seems like a good idea, that seems like a good system, why would this be a bad thing for the game? Here's the problem. Skill-based matchmaking a lot of the times doesn't even work, and what you might be asking is, how is this possible? If you look at someone like Darva, he's one of the biggest content creators on YouTube for Dead by Daylight and also on Twitch. And he recently did a series where he coached new players on how to play Survivor and Killer. And he noticed that when the Survivor that he was teaching, after a couple of games of playing Dead by Daylight, she was instantly getting placed with people who were of high skill level, like really high skill level, like probably better than me. And I have 500 hours in the game. So skill-based matchmaking is really inefficient at its job, and the reasoning for this is because the way skill-based matchmaking works in Dead by Daylight is it's based off of kills, and that's it. That's the only factor that it takes into consideration. If you don't know Dead by Daylight, the way Dead by Daylight works is the survivors to win the game have to do all the generators and escape through the exit gate, and the killer has to try to stop them by killing them. And the way SBMM calculates whether or not the survivor or the killer did good is, if the killer kills one survivor, that survivor loses MMR on their skill-based matchmaking, and the killer will gain some skill-based matchmaking or MMR. And so this happens for all 4 survivors. So let's say you get 2 survivors escape and 2 survivors die. This would be a even tie for you. You will get no MMR gain, and you will not lose any MMR as the killer. But the survivors that died will lose MMR, and the survivors that escaped will gain MMR. That's how the MMR system works. And if you don't know, that is a really bad system for Dead by Daylight. Why is that? Because as a survivor, you could literally run the killer for all 5 generators and then die to a killer who camps you with no ed, and it's still considered a loss for you as the survivor, even though you were the most skillful survivor during that game. It doesn't matter what you do throughout that game. You could be the best survivor in the world. You could unhook every survivor. You could protect. You could take protection hits. You could run the killer for 5 generators. You could do 5 generators, and still, you would, as long as you died, you would still be considered a loss, and you would still be considered the worst survivor because all the other survivors escaped. this is an awful system for that reason. Not to mention for the killer, it's a lot worse because for killer, it's really easy to go up the skill-based matchmaking rankings, whereas for survivor, it's not. You can play a lot of survivor games and not escape really that often and still be good at the game and still be enjoying yourself. Whereas as the killer, to enjoy yourself, you're kind of forced to, I guess, kill people. I mean, yes, you can get away with not killing people and still enjoying yourself, but for the most part, your enjoyment is directly tied to getting kills and directly tied to winning the match. So as a killer, I feel like SBMM is a lot worse, mainly just because of that reason. As a survivor, I can have fun and still die, whereas as the killer, it's a lot harder to enjoy yourself when all 4 survivors escape. But yeah, now that we got the whole SBMM out of the way and all the recent player count numbers dropping and all of that, now I just want to talk about the recent chapters, which I do think are somewhat of a contributing factor to the player count dropping, but I don't think it's nowhere even close to the majority of the reason. I think majority of the reason is because of SBMM, because if you look at the player count numbers around September, which I think is when SBMM dropped from what I remember, that is exactly when the player count starts dipping the most, and that is right when SBMM comes out. So my personal opinion is that SBMM had the greatest effect, but I still do think some of these chapters recently have had a certain effect on it. The most recent chapter was Portrait of Murder, which came with the artist and Jonah as the survivor. The artist, a lot of people think is one of the most boring killers to ever be released, and a lot of people don't enjoy versing her or playing her. So the artist has not really been getting picked that much. When I play Survivor, I rarely run against the artist, and also I rarely play the artist, even though I really enjoy the artist, and I actually think she's one of my favorite characters. I don't play her that much. So the pick rate of the artist is very, very low for the reason that a lot of people just think she's boring overall. And Jonah, a lot of people don't enjoy either because they think his perks are relatively boring and mediocre at best, which I would agree with. So that chapter was widely considered to be a really boring and just not that fun chapter, especially considering the new map that came out was a very survivor-sided map, and it wasn't that fun for killers to go on. So killers really just don't enjoy playing on Eyrie of Crows, which Eyrie of Crows, in my opinion, is one of the worst maps in the game. Not like, that's not a joke. I honestly would rather play a lot of the maps in the game instead of Eyrie of Crows. So this chapter was just really disappointing. And then the paragraph before that was, I can't remember the exact name of it, but it was the paragraph with Michaela Reed, which Michaela Reed introduced the concept of boon totems. And boon totems a lot of people don't like either. What a boon totem is if you don't know, in Dead by Daylight there's these things called dull totems around the map, and also hex totems, but I'll get into that in a minute. Boon totems, basically what those perks allow you to do is they allow you to go up to a dull totem or a hex totem and bless it. And when you bless it, you go through like a 8-second animation or something. I can't remember the exact time, but it's something around there. You go through an animation, and then the boon totem will activate. This will make the totem now have a blue fire under it. It'll emit a noise from the totem, and then it'll give you the effects of whatever the totems are. So, for example, if you have Boon Circle of Healing, this means that while you're within the radius of the boon totem, which is 32 meters from what I remember, if you're inside the area of the boon totem, you will be able to heal yourself and get healed 75% faster. There's also other boon totems like Boon Shadow Step and Boon Exponential, which I'm not going to go into, and the new boon totem that's coming out here soon, but I'm not going to talk about those. I'm just talking about purely Boon Circle of Healing. Boon Circle of Healing, a lot of people think has ruined the game and they don't enjoy going against Boon Circle of Healing. I don't either. I think Boon Circle of Healing is a very boring perk and annoying perk to go against, but it can play into your favor on some occasions, but for the most part, boon totems on the survivor side are really, really, really good, and they are very annoying to go against as a killer, and this made a lot of people enjoy the game less. This is why you saw, like last chapter, there was significantly less killers than survivors, in my opinion. Back then, the queue times for survivor was a lot longer than the queue times for killer. A lot of people tried to explain this with new games coming out. Me personally, I truly do believe it's just because of boon totems. A lot of killers are not enjoying playing the game right now because of boon totems and SBMM. They just don't think it's that fun. So a lot of people have just been very disappointed with the recent chapters that have been coming out and paragraphs. If we want to go really far back, we can go back to the Hellraiser paragraph, which a lot of people didn't enjoy. I didn't enjoy it either. The Hellraiser paragraph was very, very boring to me. I don't find Pinhead to be that cool of a character, not to mention I don't enjoy playing him in DBD. In DBD, he's just not that fun or cool of a character, in my opinion. His perks are really, really fun, though, however, but I still don't enjoy playing him as a killer. And I feel like this sentiment is pretty widely shared amongst the community. There is some people who enjoyed Pinhead, unlike the artist, but there's not that many people who enjoy Pinhead. But good news for Dead by Daylight is the new chapter involving the ring looks to have a lot of hype around it, and a lot of people are looking forward to this chapter. The new killer actually looks quite interesting. She has a power that is very unique. I mean, it does mesh a lot of other killers' powers together, but I actually really enjoy this new killer that's coming out, and I think it does have the potential to be a really fun killer. Also, her perks look really fun and interesting, along with the Survivor's perks look really cool and interesting. So a lot of people are actually really excited for this chapter. I mean, we won't know how good the chapter is until it comes out officially and not on the PTB. So we won't know exactly how good it is and how the community feels about it until it actually comes out. But it does look like this ring chapter is going to turn things around and hopefully make the game a little more fun. Not to mention we have the anniversary event coming out here in the coming months, and that is looking to be like another thing for a lot of people to get hyped about. DBD normally does a really big event every year on the anniversary of the game coming out, and a lot of the time they release big chapters around that time. And if that's the case, it does have potential for DBD to turn things around. Okay, so now that we've talked about chapters, I'll go into balance changes and kind of talk about a lot of controversy around Dead by Daylight and their misplays on balance changes. Recently, they've been balancing things that just don't make sense, and a lot of their balance changes literally seem to be picked at random, and that's not a joke. It seems like the developers don't know what they're doing when it comes to balancing their own game, and a lot of people are getting very frustrated with Dead by Daylight because there's a lot of reworks that are just taking forever to get made, and a lot of the changes that they're making to add-ons and to characters, nerfs or buffs, a lot of people feel like don't make any sense. Like, for example, they recently nerfed the twins because the twins, they literally said, and I quote, "The twins are a menace at high MMR," which I can see them being a menace in like tournaments and stuff, but in the actual core game, they're not that overpowered. The twins are actually one of the least picked characters in the game, which is why it makes no sense to a lot of people, including myself, why they would nerf the twins add-ons. They also keep making these buffs to characters that just don't matter and aren't going to actually help them. And there's a lot of characters like the Pig, Legion, characters like that have been needing help and needing big buffs for a while because they're just absolutely terrible. So there's a lot of balancing changes and just like issues with the game along those lines that just people are really frustrated with them about. And also, another thing that a lot of people are getting frustrated about, including myself, this is why I haven't been playing Dead by Daylight very much recently, is the grind of the game. If you guys don't know, Dead by Daylight's grind is the longest grind I think I've ever seen in a video game in my life. This game, the way the grind works is, let's say we're gonna start off with Meg, because a lot of people like to play Meg when they first get the game. So you're playing Meg. The way the grind works in this game is you can level up Meg to level 50, and then you can start prestiging her. But when you hit level 30, 35, and 40, there's these things called teachable perks that will show up in your blood web. These are all Meg's unique perks, and when you unlock them as teachable perks, you can then unlock them on other characters. Meg's teachable perks are Sprint Burst, Adrenaline, and Quick and Quiet. And when you unlock these perks as teachable perks in the blood web, this will allow you to unlock those perks of Meg's on other survivors. So you can go play Dwight and unlock those perks on Dwight. But you have to level up in Dwight's blood web and then get them in his blood web. Now, once you hit level 50 with Meg, as I said, you can start prestiging. When you prestige, you get unique cosmetics to that character that you can only get through prestiging. And you can prestige 3 times with every character. Now you might be thinking, why is this a bad system? This doesn't seem that bad. when you have as many characters as Dead by Daylight does, and you have to prestige, you don't have to, but most people want to do this, including myself. When you have to go and spend literally, I think the grind is somewhere close to 2,000 hours to get every perk on every killer in the game and get them all to Prestige 3. That is ridiculous to me. And there's a lot of problems with this system. First off, to unlock perks on a killer or a survivor, you have to go, once you get the perk in your blood web, it'll start off as level 1. Then you have to go through your blood web and get it to level 3 as well. So it's not even on its best state when you get it. So not only do you have to grind the perk on the survivor that like originally owns it and unlock the teachable perk for it, so you have to get like to level 40 on a character. Then you have to go on to the character that you main, or the character that you're wanting to get the perk on, and then grind them until they get that perk in the blood web, and then you have to buy that perk 3 times in a row, and you have to get lucky and get it back in the blood web 3 times. This grind in Dead by Daylight is absolutely ridiculous. It's the main reason why I've slowly stopped playing the game. I have played 500 hours of this game, and I only have all the perks on 1 survivor and almost all the perks on 1 killer. I'm like halfway through getting all the perks on 1 killer. And I'm wanting to do that for every killer in the game because I want to be able to play every killer the way I want to play every killer. But if I want to go about that, it's going to take a ridiculous amount of time and dedication to do that. And quite frankly, it makes the game a lot more boring than it has to be. I do think Dead by Daylight needs to do some sort of changes to the grind in this game. The grind in this game is absolutely atrocious, and it needs fixing. But now a lot of you might be here thinking, well, it seems like you've been talking a lot of trash about the game, and it seems like the game is in a bad state, so should I buy the game? Here's the thing. I actually don't think the game is in that bad of a state. I actually really enjoy the game. I'm just getting bored of the game because the grind is so long and because the chapters haven't been that interesting recently. But if you keep that in mind, I've still put 500 hours into this game when I literally spent 20 bucks on it. So this game is definitely worth your money. You'll get a lot of enjoyment out of this game, especially with friends if you want to play Survivor. It's so much fun with friends. And then when you're by yourself, you can go play Killer, grind out the game. It's a lot of fun, trust me. It may seem like the game's in a bad state right now, and it may seem like I was very upset with the game, because I am, but I really enjoy this game, and I do think this game is worth getting. This game, it can be a lot of fun with both friends and by yourself, and it has a ton of replayability. And if behavior turns things around and the new chapters that they release are decent, this game still has a chance to recover and be in a good state. They just have to do some things to like the skill-based matchmaking and release some interesting chapters, and then the game is back in a good state again. So in my opinion, I don't think these problems are big enough to justify not buying the game, because like I said, this game has a ton of replayability. If this game even looks somewhat interesting to you, you should probably buy it because it's very, very fun, and I promise you'll get a lot of enjoyment out of it. And not to mention, if you don't enjoy it, you can always refund it on Steam, especially. Because on Steam, as long as you don't play over the 2-hour mark, you can refund the game. So if you buy the game and you don't like it, you can always refund it as well. So TLDR, I would recommend purchasing it, especially if it looks somewhat interesting to you. Also, I would recommend purchasing it with friends if you want to have the most enjoyment out of it, because in my opinion, I think this game plays the best with friends on Survivor. But if you don't want to do that, it still plays great just by yourself. But yeah, hopefully you guys found this video somewhat useful. I tried to make this video enjoyable for both people who already played Dead by Daylight and just want to hear me vent about the current problems with the game, and to make it enjoyable for new players who have never played this game before. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.